I don't know, do I have a baby shower? Do I have a gender reveal without a partner because I have no one to share this with, right?
You felt like did you feel like it was almost you couldn't celebrate because it wasn't like traditional and it wasn't what everyone would have expected from you?
Hearing you say it like that, that's exactly what comes up.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Smashed Oranges. Today we have a guest with us. Her name is Kaitlyn. Welcome, Kaitlyn.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. So, to kick things off, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a new mom.
Yeah. Well, I am in school, studying to be a psychologist with a business minor as well. And I am currently working too with a 9-month-old daughter, so life is a little bit busy. I started off in dance when I was younger, and now I've gone into aerial arts as kind of like my hobby and side gig type thing. I guess that pretty much sums up my life right there.
Can we just acknowledge you are now running an aerial studio? You're not just like side gig hobby
I'm not.
Thing. It's kind of your business.
Yeah. Now I've as of January I opened up an aerial studio, Skybound Aerials, and that's been a little bit extra work, but it's been super exciting, and it's nice to have something that I can have as more of a permanent thing, as well as, pass it off to Gio when she's older and she can learn from it. So
yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. So you said you have a 9-month-old. How has motherhood been for you? And tell us about the beginning of your journey with motherhood. Was it very traditional, or was it a bit of a shock? And how did that feel to you?
Transition? It was actually my first, maybe second day going back into a new semester of school when I found out. So it was, an already pretty overwhelming time. The pregnancy was unexpected as well, so there was quite a mix of emotions that happened with it. I was excited because I've always wanted to have a kid, but there was also a lot of anxiety with it and uncertainty. So there was positive in it, but there was also a lot of back and forth with it too. And, the first little bit, I was very, very unsure of what to do, just because I had just gone back to another semester of school. I just finished my second year previously. So I was right in the middle of my schooling.
Yeah.
I was working 5 jobs when I found out too, so everything was not very perfect timing. So the first couple of months were really hard in trying to figure out where I wanted to go with it and if I was even capable of taking care of a baby at this time. So those first couple months were hard, and then once I made the decision to keep her, it was a blessing, and even looking at it now, I know she's exactly what I needed in my life.
Right.
But everything that led up to it, the whole pregnancy was tough. I was mainly on my own. I didn't get to have my, the traditional baby shower. I didn't get to have a gender reveal. I missed a lot of those things that when I first envisioned a pregnancy, when, every little girl, they imagine having a family one day and getting married and all that. And I did miss a lot of that. I'm not married, so I didn't get to have my nice dream wedding and no baby shower, no gender reveal. And a lot of that was because I was just still feeling so unsettled about everything and feeling unsure of how I would be in the role that I was going to be.
Yeah.
So there was just so much uncertainty that I couldn't even bring myself to be in a place where I was comfortable with having a baby shower or a gender reveal. And I think especially with, obviously there are the people that go and have a baby without a partner, right? But it's not seen quite as often.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of that weighed on it too, that I was like, I don't know, do I have a baby shower? Do I have a gender reveal without a partner? Because I have no one to share this with, right?
You felt like did you feel like it was almost you couldn't celebrate because it wasn't like traditional and it wasn't what everyone would have expected from you?
Hearing you say it like that, that's exactly what comes up.
Yeah. And that's harsh, and it feels, I can imagine it would feel a little bit disappointing. I mean, you said that a lot of girls grow up and it's kind of what you would expect your life to turn into. Yeah. And so as you're experiencing those hard feelings and maybe that disappointment, how did you cope with that at the time, and did you receive any support from people around you, and what did that look like?
So I had been in therapy the whole time. Pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, I actually started going every 2 weeks.
That's great.
So I was going pretty often to make sure that I was trying to mentally prepare myself and receive that support that I knew I was going to need. My parents have been super helpful and everything. The first couple of months were pretty rocky. They, as most parents with an unmarried single child would look, they were kind of iffy about everything, and they had a hard time processing being younger parents and being grandparents.
Right.
So that was a little bit of a tough transition for them, but they went to therapy too, so that they could get to a place
that's huge
to help me. And I did have, I noticed that I lost a lot of friends during the pregnancy because you're going into a different lifestyle, right?
Tough. Especially because you're only how old?
22.
22.
And I was 21 when I was pregnant with her and had her.
Right.
So
So your friends are like in that, let's go out and party and no responsibilities and throw caution to the wind era. And
that could feel very lonely.
Yeah.
That's amazing to hear that your parents went to therapy and were like totally willing
they were
to do
awesome.
what they needed to do.
And they still are. I mean, they're the biggest support system that I have besides my therapist that I've been seeing all throughout.
Yeah.
So
that's so great.
That's huge.
So you mentioned losing some friends. Have you found that certain friends have stuck around, and like what's been kind of the differentiator between the people who've kind of left your support network and people who've stayed?
I have honestly, everyone that I used to talk to, I don't talk to anymore. So it's been a whole giant transition. Like it's gone from having one completely group of friends to now having a totally new group of friends. And I do have like a few select people that I'm closer to and I talk to more, but it's been quite a big transition. There was definitely a period in the beginning where I was seeing no one, I was talking to no one besides my parents, just because I didn't know where to go.
Right. I will just acknowledge, because you and I, I think we'd only met like twice.
Yeah.
Literally. Before you had Gia. And at some point, I don't even remember, we had connected on social media because our kids are similar in age. And you had just suggested we link up and go for a walk.
Good for you.
And I will say
thanks.
I've been kind of going through my own thing with friendship dynamics lately. And what I really appreciate about you is you reach out, And so I was like, oh, she's reaching out. I'm going to reach out back, So I think even though you've lost a lot of friends, I do think you've done a good job of gaining friends. And I know that that's not always easy.
Yeah.
So I want to commend you for that.
Absolutely.
And I also want to circle back. You had said that having Gia was exactly what you needed. And so kind of tying into this changing of phases of life. Can you expand on the things that she's added to your life?
Well, pre Gia, I mean, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I still struggle a lot with my confidence, but where my confidence really weighed in on me was I could not stand up for myself for anything. And having her, I have put up a lot more of a guard. Not a guard that can't be let down, but enough that I am willing to protect her and I'm more willing to protect myself and do what it takes to protect her, because back then I would have just let people step on me. I would have done whatever people asked me to, well, within reason.
Yeah.
But wouldn't have said no to a lot of things. And now I don't let anyone do things that I wouldn't want them to do to her. So
that's amazing. It sounds like you could replace the word guard with boundary.
yeah.
So you've established some boundaries.
I've established boundaries.
That's amazing. And that gives you, you're right, that gives you some real empowerment as like an individual, but also as a mother. And Maddie and I were talking about this today, that like you start to see people differently when you become a mother, I think, because you just kind of internalize like that person used to be a little child, and then they have a mother that cares about them, and you know, they've lived their lives learning certain things from the people around them. And so I think that's a great example to Gia, that you know, even if you lack self-confidence in the beginning, you can develop that and it can be really powerful. So that's super cool. What kind of boundaries, because now I can call it that, what kind of boundaries have you had to instigate into your life or introduce into your life?
A big one for me has been inconsistency. I am not willing to deal with people that are going to pop in when they feel like it, pop out when they feel like it. And so that's been the biggest boundary to me, because now it's not only affecting me, but it's affecting her.
Right.
Especially with being a single mom, she's with me 99% of the time. So anyone who's in my life that she sees, you know, I have a bit more of an expectation that they're not just popping in once a year just to,
I feel that, man.
who knows, right? Just what they want to get some baby cuddles for one day, and then they're like, I'm over this. So that's probably been my biggest boundary that I've set up for both her and myself, because I don't want to deal with the inconsistency either.
That's a great one.
That's huge.
That's an awesome one. I feel like a lot of moms can either relate or can learn from that, because it really does, you're right, it affects the whole like family unit.
Yeah, it really does.
That's so cool.
And so I know we've talked about the word mom with you a little bit, and I know you kind of shifted my perspective, because I don't know, I just kind of thought like, oh, everybody identifies as being a mom once they birth a child into this world. And I know you voiced that wasn't necessarily the case for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I guess with a lot of the trauma that came with my pregnancy and even after the fact, I've had a very hard time associating myself with that word. I mean, I even struggle to just say it. It doesn't matter what perspective I'm in. It's a hard word for me to say. And it's not so much, like, I find that word just has so much meaning into it. Like, you're a protector, you're a caregiver, you're this little humans they're looking up to you and watching every step. And it's not that I don't want to be in that role, because that's all I've ever dreamed of. And I want to be someone that someone can look up to. But the tough part about that word is, I guess, feeling like I'm good enough for that role. And especially with being a single mom, I kind of look at myself and I'm like, there's a part of me that sometimes feel like I failed her because she doesn't have a dad. And that's been tough. But then I just look at a lot of other things, or maybe one day, you know, you guys have talked about postpartum rage, right? It comes up. And right now, especially, I'm dealing with her all day, every day. And she's so mobile. I can't get her to sit to eat. I can't get her to sit to change her diaper. I can't change her clothes. I can't get her to sleep. Like, so there's the odd occasion where I do end up yelling, and it feels terrible. That's the last thing I want to do, right? But so I guess associating that word with myself, it maybe even brings it a little bit more to reality. I think I'm still trying to process everything that's happened, and I'm not at a point yet that I have been able to just get past everything. And I think that's probably a big barrier with that word. I mean, even for Christmas, I couldn't write that word on any of her gifts. Any of our like friends that they look and they consider me like an aunt to their kids. I couldn't write aunt on any of their gifts just because they all kind of associated together was what it felt like. Yeah.
Was that surprising to you? Like before you found out you were pregnant, did you think that one day you would be able to, like,
call yourself mom without any afterthoughts? Right?
That's tough. I feel like when I did find out I was pregnant, I didn't think that I would struggle so much to get to that point. I mean, even sometimes just saying the word pregnant is kind of like, I was there. Like, that was a reality. And so I guess anything that just associates with that is still learning how to be comfortable with that role. And that's, you know, I mentioned that I am seeing a therapist, and that's what we've been really trying to focus on is not only my relationships in general, just because I do have to work past everything, but even that relationship of calling myself that to her. You know, all these moms, they're teaching their kids mama, right? And I haven't gotten to that point yet. And there's a part of me that it's heartbreaking, right? You know, I hear yesterday we went to swimming lessons and the mom beside me is saying, oh, show mommy your bubbles, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't know how to get to that point. It's been a very big barrier.
Interesting. So how do you refer to yourself to her?
Nothing. I don't.
I like a blank space right now.
It's a blank space right now. The goal is that I'm trying to get there before it comes to a point where, you know, next Christmas, where she's going to be older. She's going to be talking a little bit more, right? Whereas this Christmas, it was like, I don't need to write that word. I don't need to write my name because I don't want to associate. You know, I don't want to call myself my name around her either because that doesn't feel comfortable either. So it's kind of finding the way to feel comfortable with that word in association to her.
Interesting. So do you think, like, I speak a little bit from my own experience on this because I did have an unexpected pregnancy when I was 19. And like, just like there was this moment, like I saw the positive test and like reality like shattered on the floor in front of me. Like quite literally, like if I could have dropped a glass and watched it shatter, like my future as I knew it just like smashed and it was like a blank space. And I kind of went into a bit of like shock and denial. Can you relate to that?
Yeah. When I saw that test, I think I probably took 5 or something. Because I was like, there's absolutely no way. And then when I saw that, I was like, if I do move forward with this, what does my life look like from here? Because I didn't think I'd be able to go back to school for a bit. I didn't think I'd be able to, I mean, I didn't see myself owning a studio at this point, right? Like,
crazy how times change.
Yeah, so there was a lot that when I saw that, I was like, what does my life now look like 8 months from now, 9 months from now? So it was...
Wow.
Yeah, shattering, as you say it.
Like trying to put the pieces back together and to make a new picture is like a weird thing. So do you think maybe that plays into a little bit of like not associating the word mom too, or like
not visualizing yourself in the future as a mom? Is that kind of what you mean?
I don't know.
That's an open-ended question.
I don't know if it's necessarily that because... I mean, even looking at it now, I am in a better place where I'm like, I can see myself going somewhere. I didn't take a break from school. When I literally wrote a final exam a week after having her, like, I just kept going. And then even when she was, I don't know how old she would have been, 5 months, maybe, I still went right back to school in September and I've continued through. So I don't know if that's necessarily part of the barrier, just because even though I had that moment, I have continued to move past that moment.
You've kind of rebuilt your life. It sounds like you've pivoted quite excellently. It's just my opinion. I think that's astounding, the things that you've been able to do in that amount of time. I really want to commend you for that because again, personally, like, I feel like I had all the support in the world. I mean, I'm married, I'm older than you. I was 27, 28 when I got pregnant and had Poppy. And I was still like, what am I doing with my life? So you're amazing, and I really think that that's very inspiring. There's so many things I want to ask you about now. I'm like, which one do I pick? Okay, maybe I'll ask you about the schooling and like how you got into your business and stuff, because I think that's amazing that you've done that so quickly after having Gia.
Because Gia's not even 1 yet.
No, she's 9 months.
Yeah.
9 months. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you found out you were pregnant, you said that you weren't sure if you're going to go back to school. So at what point did you decide, I'm going to go back to school? And then I want you to kind of like give us a little bit of a timeline of that, and then how you got into your aerial studio.
Well, school, like I said, I found out first or second day that I had just started a new semester. So I knew I was going to have to go ahead with it. My moving into the January semester, or winter semester, I had actually approached my professors for that semester probably about 2 months in advance. Just because I wanted to talk to them a little bit about my situation, see if there was any way that they could support me so that I could continue going to school. So I did that. I had 2 in-person classes, but both of my professors for that class, one of them was amazing, and he just like gave me all the lectures. He let me do all the tests and stuff, everything online.
Wow.
Including the final exam. And then my other professor that was supposed to be in person, I had all of the lectures. She let me listen to all the lectures. She said, just pop into school for your your midterms and stuff. And then I just had to go back for that exam too. And then I had 2 online classes. So one that was finishing in April as well, with the other classes. And then one that I actually took with a specifically online school, and that carried all the way through summer for me. So it was a 6-month instead of a 4-month program. So that one I ended up completing after I had her too. After I had her, I actually was almost very determined to go back for spring semester. I almost went back for 1 class, and then my parents told me I probably shouldn't. But a lot of the desire to keep going back comes from the desire to keep working hard for her and, to show her that anything is possible and that you can do anything you put your mind towards. So once I had her and then I finished that online course in the summer, I sat down with my parents and I was like, I think I want to go back in the fall. And so we hopped on, the second registration opened up, and I picked 3 online courses. Yeah. So that way I could still be at home while she was still very young. Yeah. And I could just do everything online. Again, I met with my professors in advance to make sure that they kind of knew what was happening. She sat in on my lectures with me. So I would have her, because we had to be on camera, and so I'd have her sitting on my lap on camera. Sometimes I'd be popping off the screen once she started crawling, because she's crawling away from you. Right? So I did. I found the online classes and I thought, Kate, this is an opportunity to keep going. And then this semester that I'm taking now, I have 2 online again, and then I have 2 in person. Wow. And my mom has been fantastic and actually watches her while she's working from home.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah, which was a big ask of her. Yeah. But so my parents wanted me to keep going if that was what I wanted. So they've been really supportive and trying to help me get there. Good. So that was kind of my school journey. I probably have about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years left, just depending on how many classes I take in the future. Right. I'm planning to take 1 in the summer, maybe if I take 2 in the summer. So still a couple more years. But so that's the education journey.
Incredible.
And then I guess with the studio, so I was originally coaching at 3 different studios. There was one that came up that she actually told us that she was closing down the studio, and I went, what the heck? Like, it was quite a shock. We found out in October, I think, that she was closing down. Mid-December was our last day of classes, so it happened very quickly.
Right.
And I brought that home to my parents, and I told them, and my dad looked at me. He is a business owner himself. So he looked at me and he said, Kaitlyn, this is an opportunity. And I went, what do you mean? He was like, we're going to do this. He really stepped up to the plate, and he helped me with the website. He helped me with a lot of the background stuff so that I could still continue to care for Gia. I was obviously still in school, so I was getting schoolwork done, and he really took on a big role just because he wanted me to have that. So we ended up figuring out what the lease of the space was going to cost. We found insurance, and then once we had those two pieces, we went, well, we've got the students, because everyone was hoping that their classes would continue, right? So that was
wow,
right
just, like,
there.
slipped right in.
Yeah, because I had always wanted to own a studio one day. So when the opportunity presented itself, I just I had to take it.
I'm like tearing up because it's just so amazing.
But yeah, so it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very quick. Is
Yeah.
how that whole process was. It was hectic, and there was a lot of pieces that typically do not happen in literally a month time, but it happened.
I was gonna ask, because it had to be like within a month or two turnover. That's insane.
Yeah. Wow.
So now it's fully functional.
Yep. We have the space. The students are all back to classes, and they're all so happy that they're back to classes. I got all new equipment for them. So it's been, kind of putting myself out there as a little bit of a new space, but also still keeping some of the aspects of the old. So everyone's happy to be back, and it's fully functional, and
that's so cool.
That's very
Do you employ other aerial teachers as well?
Yeah, so lucky for me, all the coaches that were originally at that studio all stuck behind my back, and they continued to help me get everything set up, and
that's amazing.
They have all stuck around and continue to do classes, so we have a full team.
Oh, I'm just so excited and happy for you. Like success stories. I just want to cry.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I think your story is super inspiring. I just think that I just think that there's so many things that come with motherhood that are like really good reasons to just like not do the things,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you'd be 100% justified if you didn't want to go back to school, or if you didn't open the business, if all you did for the next 3 years was like raise Gia, you know? But like, I just think it's super inspiring that you like still continued to do the things to like create the life.
Yeah.
I will be honest that a lot of it probably does also come from the factor of being a single mom, because all the finances comes down to me.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So
very motivated.
There is a little bit more motivation that I have to go and work to get that higher paying job. I have to continue to work because I need the money for her, and we all know mat leave does not pay that well.
No.
Right? So
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think it's cool to see that you're still working on your identity as a mother as well, and like what that means to you personally. And it seems that you're kind of rebranding what that looks like for you and how it feels, because from what I've internalized from what you were saying is that there were some expectations of what you think like a mother should look like and kind of characteristics that a mother has. And I think that you are a great mom. And hopefully you feel confident someday soon to call yourself a mom, because I know that Gia is very, very lucky to have you. I'm simply blown away by the fact that you're so young, and you just approach this with a very mature mindset, and that you care so deeply for Gia that you haven't just like holed yourself up in like this doom hole of pity of like your circumstances. You've risen to the challenge, and you're doing it with her in mind, and in terms of like your example and what she can learn from it. And also I think you're also focusing really heavily on your relationship to her, because I can tell that you want to be a present mom and you want to be somebody who she feels comfortable around, and that you're showing patience. I totally get, like, busy babies are really challenging, and especially when you have so many other balls up in the air. It's like, how do you keep it all together? So it's really, really hard, and I want to validate that. I think you're doing amazing. So I really hope that someday soon you can call yourself mom, because you're putting in all the work, and it's it's very valid.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up?
Any advice maybe you could give to single moms? I'd love to hear that.
I guess my biggest piece of advice is don't let the fact that you're a single mom get in the way. Use that to your advantage and go with it. I mean, it's tough and it's exhausting, but it's also even more motivation to keep going and to keep providing everything that you can, because you are their sole provider and they don't have anyone else to look up to. So it's a tough road, and there is nothing that I can say that will tell you it's any easier. I mean, I'm sure we can all agree that being a parent is tough enough as is. So just keep going with it, and don't give up on yourself, I guess is.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Great one. Yeah, go at it with a long game in mind. I think you're doing a great job with that.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for spending the time with us, Kaitlyn.
Thanks for having
simply
me.
An honor. It's been great. Yeah, I'm sure you'll inspire a lot of our listeners, and
I hope so.
Maybe we'll get you back for a part 2 sometime and see how you're doing, catch up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again so much.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, to all our listeners and watchers, thank you again for joining us. Don't be afraid to hit the like and subscribe buttons, add any comments, questions, or anything else you'd like to see from us, and we'll see you later. Thanks so much, guys. Much love. Bye.